3.5 years for this. She's just a grandmother who ran a balloon pop game. But in China, her gun toys were classified as firearms. This is what absolute gun control looks like, and China has no guns. Take a look at Changsha, a neon jungle that never sleeps. At 3 a.m., the streets are packed. People are eating, drinking, laughing. But the locals here are known for fiery tempers. So if a fight breaks out tonight, what happens? Fist. Maybe a broken bottle. Or guys swinging sticks like this. Is it ugly? Yes. But lethal? Not quite. However, this piece is new. Let's rewind just 30 years back. On this same soil, villagers weren't eating late-night meals. They were digging trenches. In 1993, a dispute between two villages didn't end in a fistfight. It escalated into a mini war. We are talking about 5,000 people mobilizing overnight. They weren't just angry, they were militarized. They even built their own cannons and armed vehicles using steel pipes. They had enough firepower to drive back 1,000 policemen. Imagine medieval clan wars, but fought with World War II artillery. This was China in 1990s. So why was the government so loose with guns back then? Because for a long time, the newborn republic faced existential threats. The US threatened nuclear annihilation in the 50s. The Soviets threatened invasion in the 60s. And there was a border conflict with Vietnam in the 70s. To survive, the Chinese people had to be armed. Chairman Mao once said, "Every citizen is a soldier." Your grandmother might have kept a Type 56 rifle right next to her farming tools. But as China entered 1980s, we didn't need that anymore. The country opened up, the economy boomed, money started flowing, and suddenly those guns became a catalyst for chaos. In the 80s, two thieves with guns went on a 7-month killing spree across China. They moved like ghosts, crossing 6 provinces, leaving a trail of bodies behind them. Finally, 30,000 police cornered them in a mountain, and the two thieves were killed. But they shocked the nation with just 2 guns. Fast forward to the 1990s. In rural areas, law enforcement was still weak, and those guns found a new use. Into the era of the road bandits. If you were a truck driver in the 90s, you didn't just need a map, you needed a shotgun. Bandits would block national highways, get on the buses, and rob everyone at gunpoint. Sometimes they didn't just take money, they took lives. By the mid-90s, the nation had enough. People were scared. They didn't want guns anymore. They wanted safety. The government decided the Wild East had to die. It was time to drop the hammer. In 1996, Beijing enacted the law on control of guns. In the US, gun control is a debate. It's a political tug-of-war. But in China, it's a decree. When the Chinese government means business, it means business. So how do you disarm 1 billion people overnight? You don't ask them, you tell them. Phase 1, the ultimatum. The government gave a short grace period. Turn your guns in now and you're fine. You keep them? Try me. Most Chinese people trusted the government's resolve. They knew this policy wasn't a bluff. So millions of guns were handed over. Phase 2, the power of the people. In China, there's a culture of collective responsibility. If your neighbor saw you hiding a gun, they reported it. It was a surveillance network way before CCTV cameras even existed. Sounds like a snitch? Maybe. But effective? Definitely. Phase 3, the Iron Fist. As guns became scarcer, guns crimes stood out even more, and the punishments went from hard to extreme. Here's the number, 1.8 joules per square centimeter. Before 2008, the threshold to define a gun was 16 joules. Then they slashed it by nearly 90%. To put that into perspective, let's look at Americans' favorite handgun, the Glock 19. It fires with about 500 joules of energy. It's 500 versus 1.8. And the airsoft gun you use for weekend carnival? In China, that is legally classified as a lethal firearm. You don't get a fine, you get a prison record. I'm not exaggerating, let me tell you about Zhao Chunhua. She wasn't a gangster, she was a 50-year-old woman running a balloon popping store at a carnival. Police seized 6 of her rifles, the ones that barely pop a balloon. But because they exceeded that 1.8 joules limit, she was charged with illegal possession of firearms. She was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. Although public outcry later reduced it to probation and she could walk home free, the message was already sent. Don't even think about guns.